What is happening, y'all? Welcome on back to the final part of our Shadow of the Erdtree walkthrough, and it is time for the final boss, Promised Consort Radahn. Now, in terms of Great Rune, you could obviously put on, I don't have them, but you could put on something like Morgott's to give you a nice HP increase. You could put on Radahn's Great Rune to give yourself HP, FP, all that stuff. You're probably going to die a lot here, so I don't really think the Great Rune is going to really be worth it. Now, a couple things that are really worth it in this fight. Rot Pots. Rot Pots are definitely going to help. In Phase 1, you are able to inflict rot with as little as 2 pots. In Phase 2, it usually takes about 3, so go ahead and put those on. We're going to take this guy off. Uplifting Aromatic can help sometimes, but I find it to be a little situational in this fight. It's good to like use beforehand to pump your damage a little bit, but otherwise I'm not going to worry about it. As for your flask, Crimson Bubble Tear, even though I'm a big fan of it, I don't think it works too well in this fight because some of his attacks hit so hard that it will kill you before you hit the threshold for Crimson Bubble Tear. Personally, I'm a really big fan of Deflecting Hardtear here. This gives you essentially a Sekiro guard type ability, so you can just instantly guard against stuff. And if you do essentially perfect guards, it's not going to take much damage. Instead, Opaline Hardtear. Opaline Hardtear is another good bet here, just further bolstering your defense. Glovewort Crystal is probably not going to be as good, just because your summon's going to end up dying. So my personal is Opaline and Deflecting. I think that's probably one of the safest bets in terms of the stuff you could use for this fight. Now, some other things. As I mentioned in the last video, of course, we have 2 summons that we can bring into this encounter. Over here, we have Thiolier. Over here, we have Ansbach. Ansbach can do bleed. Thiolier can do poison. They can certainly help, but at the same time, they're really going to inflate Radahn's health. I'll probably do 1 attempt bringing them along just so you can see what that looks like. Some other stuff here. I'm a big fan of Great Shields on this fight. He does a lot of attacks. You can use a medium. If you can use a Great Shield, there's no reason to not use a Great Shield. But in the prep session, we did this with just a medium shield and Deflecting Hardtear. And we had a strategy revolving around counterattacking constantly and using that to whittle him on down. He's going to enter Phase 2 around 60%, 70%, and things get a lot more chaotic. So actually, you know what? I think what would be good to do for this fight, see, I'll probably take you off. You would be good. Well, if that shield's going to mitigate Holy, maybe I can keep you on. We'll find out. Let's just go in. I'm just going to go easy on the first phase here and show a lot of the stuff. And then we will kind of talk more about what he does. So right at the start of the fight, he's going to dash in, roll under that attack. And now you can see how I'm timing my blocks. That one you want to hold before trying to get off a counter. You can see I'm just doing a lot of guard counters here. We're going to let him just do a lot of his Phase 1 stuff here, so you can see how with the Deflecting Hardtear, we're really blocking a lot of stuff. And what I'm doing, I'm tapping L1 every time one of these attacks connect, and that's why it's not using all that much stamina. I always get too greedy there, but on that one, you want to let him pull out the rocks. He does this, run, and then jump back. He'll sometimes pull the rocks out of the ground, you know, proper Radahn gravity type stuff. If he does that, you'd want to do the jump back, but the runaway also works for the one he just did. Trying to get him to, here we go. Roll away from that, roll to the side, and when they get close, jump. Just literally run horizontally and jump. Roll through that one. Now, Phase 2, things get a bit harder here. With Phase 2, you can, if you want to summon your Mimic, now would be the time. I think it's worth just learning Phase 1, getting it down. Phase 2 is a lot more chaotic. There's a lot of shit going on the screen. He'll probably start this off with his big light, which when he does, just run away. If you're not sure you're going to make it, just go ahead and block it instead with the Holy Resist Shield. through that. Side dodge that. Run to the side. Leap the rocks. So you can see how a lot of his attacks now have Holy following up, and that's why the Holy Shield is going to be so good here. If that hug hits you, which actually I'll let the next hug hit me. It's light speed slash, you can sidestep that. Wait for combos if you're going to heal. So when he hugs you, the first time this happens, Miquella tries to give you sweet kisses. It's going to put a little hat on you. When you have that hat, that's when you need to use Miquella's Great Rune. If you don't, and you get hugged a second time, you will instant die. So if you get hit with that, use your Great Rune. And you can see just how much work the Holy Resistant Great Shield is doing. The Blood Flame, we can dodge to the left on that one. As I mentioned, we can hit him with a couple Rot Pots. So, all I did there was just walk to the side of him. Just the slam, run away, and then jump. After the hug, that's going to be one of your best times to try and get in some damage. Run to the side. Leap. You really got to delay guard counters if you're trying to do that. You can see how after he swings, there's going to be a follow-up of those blades. And not bad for a first attempt where I was mainly just blocking and showcasing the moveset. So I think the biggest thing with this fight is there's a lot of shit going on screen. There's a lot of stuff that can be very overwhelming. Now we're going to show an example of what it would look like with all the homies. If you're doing this, I would very highly suggest you're using Bleed, because otherwise his health threshold is going to be too high. So Bleed and Rot are both great here. You could even work in Frostbite as well if you want. We'll show you what it looks like with the group, with the whole gang. But yeah, highly recommend you have on Opaline and Deflecting. I'm probably going to take this off. That's not really helping all that much. Some other things that can be solid here. Golden Braid if you're getting hit by the holy damage a lot. If you're doing block, Burst Shield Talisman can be great. Great Shield Talisman can be great if you're not hitting those perfect blocks, like something that slips through the perfect guard. That will help mitigate it. But this is a very defensive fight. You'll notice I only have on one with Shard of Alexander. That's the only offensive talisman I have here. I think you're a lot better off playing defensively here. You could obviously go Lord's Divine Fortification or Black Flame's Protection as well, just adding a little bit extra. If you are bringing the whole gang along, you might as well buff them up. So every time the fight starts, he's always going to do this usually, and you can roll right through that like I said. So we're going to grab our runes. I can find our runes. Oh god, don't you smack me, man. I'm trying to get my runes right now.
Pleasure to see you.
Well, I do think the... Well, I do think the fight is harder with the summons. They do have some really interesting dialogue. Man, that did not work out. I just want my runes, bro. I got 9.2 million. Come on, Radahn, calm down. We're gonna do it again. I'm bringing the homies and I'm getting my runes this time, though. We didn't even get to see what the fight would look like with all of them because I was concerned about getting those runes. I mean, what's funny is I don't have plans to level, but like, I'm not giving those up. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll change my mind and decide I need to level up. I've held on to them for this long, why would I stop now? Those are my runes. I earned those. Crazy how much distance he can cover. Damn, Tiolier is already dead. So yeah, that's how things go with Tiolier. The nice thing about the summons is they can potentially stop stuff like the rocks will go after the summons instead of you. Phase 2 starts, keep in mind he likes to do his big thing. Which, blocking it up with a holy, 100% holy, it's probably one of the easiest ways to handle that. So that's light speed. The best way to avoid light speed is to just stay on top of him. Always let him finish his combo before you try to go for a heal. You can see, all I did there is I held out block and I just literally walked to the right. You can kind of see how when we bring the summons, like even when I was doing the solo, he was already much lower on his health than he is now. To the side, jump. So yeah, I mean, it's cool having the summons there and getting the extra dialogue, but honestly, unless you're doing like a very dedicated bleed setup, I don't think it's going to be worth it for you. So now that we've covered that, let's go ahead and actually go in and take care of the business. Always bring the rot pots. I'd rather have damage. Actually, I'm gonna swap this out for my Claws of Night here. The guard counter on Claws of Night, as well as the Ashavor, is very good for this fight, I feel. can see just how safe this is. This might be a little too close. Ugh! On to phase 2. So, we're gonna wait for... Oh, he did light speed. Oh boy, we gotta get up. We're gonna wait till he tries to do his big light thing. There we go. After he does that, while we're chilling, this is the time to summon up Mimic. We'll sometimes do that. After you dodge, hit him with the Ash of War for some easy damage. So when he does that, immediately run for a wall, preferably on the other side of the arena. Block it. I'll probably go for a hug. And Radahn, Consort of Miquella, is down. So a couple things there, like I said, that work very, very well. Sacred Black Steel Great Shield, 95 physical, 100 holy. That's going to stop a ton of the stuff in that encounter. Namely, one of the biggest things being the Miquella's Light. Because normally you need to be like sprint, 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 and you might not make it. Being able to just be like, I don't care, and just block, that's great. Having the Great Shield Talisman and at the same time the Deflecting Hardtear are actually pretty synergistic together. Because what we're doing here is, if you're able to tap those blocks, Deflecting Hardtear is going to greatly decrease how much stamina it costs to block. And then on top of that, for the attacks we can't tap, like when we're tapping for the sword and then the lightning's coming in, Great Shield Talisman is going to help negate how much stamina that lightning, or excuse me, that holy is hitting us for. We went extra defense with Dragoncrest Great Shield in the event that we did take a spare hit, and even using something like Raksha, which actually decreases our mitigation. With this stuff, we were up at 68 physical on mitigation and 59 holy, and our shield was obviously mitigating a ton. So we had a very, very safe playthrough. As you saw there towards the end, the Rot Pots, especially in Phase 2, had a lot of extra damage just ticking him down, even while he was busy doing all of his bullshit, making his light columns coming out of the sky like a meteor. Just a lot of extra damage there. And then, obviously, as you saw, the bleed procs were also great. But one of the big things I liked about Claws of Night so much in the testing for this, by the way, go ahead, pick up, let us go together. But with Claws of Night, when we block and we do a guard counter, it's very, very quick. So you notice how I was able to guard counter his stomp attacks and then still get my block up for his next attack. So just an incredibly fast, that toss out, which is also great because if you're not right on top of them and you're missing guard counters, they're not going to really be worth it. The only real downside of this weapon is you're probably not going to do enough impact damage to actually build up a stagger, but very, very safe weapon overall. I mean, it had 5 flasks left, and that was going in with a couple of Cerulean. Some other stuff I probably could have covered. When he's doing his big light bullshit, after you get out of the way of it, that's a great opportunity to buff. Another nice thing is in Phase 2, if you have Mimic with you, he could potentially hug Mimic If he hugs Mimic, just rebuff. It's time to get up a self-heal, get up your Flame Grant Me Strength, get up your Golden Vow, whatever you want. Those are fantastic times to do it. But afterwards, go ahead and touch the memory.
Promise me you'll be my consort.
Lore.
I'll make the world a gentler place.
I'm sure the lore channels are going to go crazy, but the short version of it is essentially Miquella was manipulating Mohg all along. We had to kill Radahn to free his soul from his body, free Mohg to get access to Mohg's body. They took Mohg's body, shoved Radahn's soul into Mohg's body. That's why Radahn suddenly had blood flame attacks, and then used that to bring him back essentially as Prime Radahn, so that Miquella could take him as his king consort and basically have him be his partner as he ascended to godhood. So basically, yeah, Miquella is just a very manipulative little femboy. But anyway, after that, you will get access to the Circlet of Light. Pretty cool. Boost Faith and Arcane while boosting Miquella's Light type abilities. There's obviously no credit roll with the DLC. And not bad. I came in just barely under that 10 million runes mark. So hopping on over to the Table of Grace, let's talk about some remembrances before we wrap up. Of course, we have never bought Mesmer stuff, but we have access to the Prime Radahn outfit, which is super clean looking. Big fan of the fashion souls it offers. And then looking at the power, we have 3 separate choices here. So we have Greatsword of Radahn Lord with Promised Consort, Greatsword of Radahn Light with Light Speed Slash, and Light of Miquella. Light of Miquella is super obnoxious in PvP. The range on it is just absurd. Both Greatsword of Radahn Light and Greatsword of Radahn Lord are incredibly powerful weapons. If you had to pick just one, I'd probably go for Lord over Light. But real fast, before we wrap things up, I'm actually going to hop onto my main character that has both of those, and I will show them real fast just so you can get an idea of what they look like in the event that you want to go for one of those. Actually, you know what? I think my strength guy has them both equipped already. We have access, so they're both here. It's light. I don't know where the other one's at. Let me go to a different character here. So I was running around on my strength guy. After his playthrough, he became Radahn Jr., which is the perfect character to showcase this stuff. There we go, Radahn Jr., come on out. And we'll just go beat up an arcane, one of our blood fiends. Right here. So looking at our 3 Radahn swords, here's the Star Scourge Greatsword, by the way, just to give you an idea on the damage. A little bit less with this particular build because these are more quality type deal, whereas this is more pure strength. But looking at Lord with Promised Consort, this has the base Radahn Dual Swords moveset that you're already familiar with. So, you know, using R1, getting all those chops. The way Promised Consort is going to work: imbue the 2 great swords to Light of Miquella, then deliver a slashing attack accompanied by columns of light. Additional inputs allow for up to 2 follow-up attacks. And essentially, we just keep spamming the Ash of War button to pull this off. So, smack, smack. smack, 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 smack. Very powerful. Very, very disruptive in PvP. High damage potential. Very strong recommendation around that one. Now the other one is a bit more instantaneous with light. Assume a luminous form, leap forward to deliver a downward slash at the speed of light. This attack will be followed by an additional light attacks charged to increase the power of skill and number of follow-up attacks. This one I like because it's very instant in the amount of damage it's going to put out. In PvP, this almost isn't going to catch anybody. People are just waiting for it. But if you can charge it, it's quite good. It's just going to rain all those attacks down. Which I actually like the older version of it more. You know, because it looks like just like a little rain of light that's coming down. The original version was like zoom, 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 zoom. It had all the swords similar to what he was doing. But it's still decent. But like I said, if you had to pick one, personally, I would go for Lord. As you can see, looking at these, with my stats at least, they're identical in terms of damage. The only thing is, Lord, you're going to have a cheaper FP cost, and Lightspeed Slash probably has a little more stagger potential, but that's only if you can get off that charge and hit that full attack, which a lot of things aren't going to stand still and let you actually do that. But either way, that is going to wrap things up for our Shadow of the Erdtree walkthrough. So obviously, big thanks for coming along on this journey. Hopefully, y'all had a lot of fun with it. I definitely think this is one of the best, if not the best, DLC we have gotten out of From Software so far. With that being said, I'll probably see y'all again soon for Wukong or whatever else I decide to cover. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.